Well, good evening. I hope that you've had a beautiful day on this 18th day of March. That is a Tuesday. And of course, you are ready and set for the People's Court. It is always good to have you join us. And as you can evidently see, the set, you can evidently see the set is all jumped up. You would want to call it that way, or it's all packed for a very incredible conversation again tonight, as we always do this, or as is the norm. Every Tuesday, we engage ourselves and we engage you back at home as to conversations that revolve around our very own interests, and that's basically what we'll be doing this evening. So the World Health Organization has raised an alarm that the Trump executive order carrying the decision to pause U.S. foreign aid has substantively, that is, interrupted supply of HIV treatments in 8 countries, which could then soon run out of these life-saving medicines. The Global Health Agency says that Haiti, Kenya, Lesotho, South Sudan, Burkina Faso, Mali, Nigeria, and Ukraine could then exhaust their supply of HIV treatments in the coming months. What does this mean to Africa and Kenya's estimated 1.5 million people living with HIV and AIDS? Tonight on the People's Court, we ask this pertinent question. As the Ministry of Health today, again, says that, as a country, we need not to get worried about the status of HIV in the country and the availability of ARVs as well as testing kits. We have seen organizations reaching out to TV47 because then they understand that we're having this conversation tonight. And they say it is important that we come together as a country to raise an alarm, to make noise so that we can have availability of ARVs. So the question is, are we in the best position as the Ministry of Health says, or maybe there's a cause for alarm? That is what we'll be talking about this evening. We have specialists who will help us to understand some more on where we are at as a country, as well as case studies. Perhaps they will share their experiences as to the access of ARVs. It is important that you're part of this conversation. As always, the hashtag The People's Court. I'll be sampling some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast. My name is Linda Alela. Always good doing this, and of course I'll be assisted by my sign language interpreter Rhoda Nyamai on the other end. But before we get to that very pertinent conversation, allow us to take a look at what is in news. The highlights. Tonight, King Willem-Alexander of the Netherlands calls on President William Ruto's government to uphold the rights of all Kenyans, stressing the importance of good governance, democracy, and accountability.
The people of Kenya, like those of the Netherlands, want their rights as free citizens to be respected.
And former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua misses a burial in Kiambaa constituency, citing security fears after reports of hostile groups waiting for him. Also tonight, we shine the spotlight on the Ilchamus community, who perform special prayers at a river, believing it helps barren women and promotes environmental conservation.
Hiyo ni kusema basi mvua itanyesha.
And straight to the Daily Report, and that is news where King Willem-Alexander of the Netherlands met with President William Ruto at State House, Nairobi, and did not hold back in addressing key governance concerns. During their discussion, the Dutch monarch emphasized the importance of respecting human rights, upholding good governance, and ensuring accountability, echoing growing criticism of the Kenya Kwanza administration from both local and international quarters. His remarks came on the first day of his official visit, amplifying concerns already raised by various stakeholders about the government's handling of critical national concerns. Our reporter Moige William was at the State House where the two leaders held bilateral talks and now brings us this report.
Tuesday, in style, President William Ruto welcomed the Dutch royals. The king, Willem-Alexander, honored with a 21-gun salute and inspected a guard of honor mounted by Kenya Army. Even with such a design of welcome, King William held back no barrels with a straight face, taking on President William Ruto on the state of human rights and governance. The Netherlands King and Queen's visit comes at a time allegations of human rights abuses continue to dominate different spaces across the country.
The people of Kenya, like those of the Netherlands, want their rights as free citizens to be respected and their voices to be heard.
Earlier, the Gen Z, who in June were part of the protest against the Kenya Kwanza regime policies, wrote hundreds of emails petitioning the Dutch royals to cancel their visit. The Ruto-led regime being accused of arresting, detaining and abduction of dissenting voices, especially after the 2024 anti-finance protest in which protesters stormed parliament.
I'm pleased that our country's strong and mature relationship allows us to devote attention during this visit to issues like human rights, good governance, and accountability.
The Dutch government in February revealed that it had received more than 300 emails asking for the cancellation. King William, however, announced during his visit to Kenya he will be meeting a section of youth to hold discussions along concerns of human rights.
What opportunities do they see to build a bright future for the country they love? A future in which everyone can participate on an equal footing. Legal certainty has a fundamental role to play in this respect and is also essential for Kenya's economic development.
As for President Ruto, he stayed clear of this topic, sticking to the issues of the day that involved bilateral discussions between Kenya and Netherlands, focusing on bilateral cooperation, climate action, food security, water management and innovation partnership.
Your engagements with the youth and the Supreme Court and the business community will further solidify our mutual understanding and cooperation.
The Dutch royals arrived on Monday night for a 3-day visit slated to visit different parts of the country, including the Goto Forest in Kiambu and Naivasha in Nakuru County. The meeting between President William Ruto and King William Alexander breathes a new lifeline in fostering relationship between Kenya and the Netherlands. William, TV47, State House, Nairobi.
Thank you, Moige, for that. And tonight, former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was forced to skip a burial in Kiambaa constituency after reports emerged that hired goons were waiting to attack him during the burial. The goons who surrounded the church amid the presence of police officers were allegedly hired by prominent politicians, according to family members of the late Mzee Amos Mbugua, who died aged 93. Apollo Kamau reports on that.
The burial of 93-year-old Mzee Amos Mbugua Kimani was on the verge of being turned into a theatre of chaos had former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua arrived after goons allegedly hired by prominent politicians waited for him in the church compound as the burial service went on inside the church. Not even the presence of police officers could deter the goons, with the family of the late Mzee Kimani, led by his son Eric Mutura, blaming the MPs for planning the chaos.
Na wakati walisikia hivyo, Kimani Ichung'wah na Kawanjiko na ndiye mheshimiwa hapa walisema hapa Rigathi hata kuja hapa, na wakahaya goons, walihaya Mungeke, walihaya kutoka pandi zote za Kiambu, wote walikuwa wamejazana hapa, walikuwa na mwago hapa na maroli.
Mutura, who is a friend and former staffer of the former DP, who was impeached last year, said Gachagua decided to avoid the burial to avoid a repeat of the Limuru chaos in November last year.
Na kama mheshimiwa Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua alipata fununu kama kungekuwa na vita, yeye ni mtu anaheshimu kanisa na hangekubali vita itokee kanisa, kwa hivyo akasacrifice kuja kwake kwa hii mazishi.
Kiambaa legislator Njuguna Kawanjiko, who is the area MP, was the only politician to attend the burial and was barred from speaking politics at the ACK St. John's Church in the wake of Sunday's directive by Anglican Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit.
Mjue hata kama aliweza kungolewa, ni kiongozi na ni mmoja wetu.
The political intolerance in the Mount Kenya region comes ahead of President William Ruto's much-anticipated tour of the region that has seen Ruto's allies plead with the region not to heckle the president. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Paulo. Now, the U.S. Embassy has accorded, perhaps released a travel advisory to American citizens in Kenya, warning them of potential security threats in various parts of the country. The advisory cautions against traveling to specific regions due to risks such as crime, civil unrest, terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping. Some of the areas flagged in the warning include Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, and Tana River counties. Take a look at that.
The U.S. Embassy has warned its citizens in Kenya against traveling to the Kenya-Somali border counties, which include Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, and Tana River, as well as coastal areas like north of Malindi due to risks of terrorism and kidnapping. At the same time, U.S. travelers have been cautioned against going to the counties of West Pokot and Turkana due to banditry attacks. The embassy has also cautioned its citizens living in the capital city of Kenya, Nairobi, to avoid the neighborhoods of Eastleigh and Kibera due to crime and kidnappings. The embassy says violent crimes such as armed carjacking, mugging, and kidnapping can occur at any time, claiming that local police often lack the capability to respond effectively to serious crimes and terrorist attacks. Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
The Ministry of Health has been put on the spot by the Senate Health Committee over how it has utilized previous budget allocations. This comes as the ministry is set to receive an additional 85 billion, that is shillings, in the 2025-2026 budget policy statement. Some senators argue that the ministry does not deserve more funds due to lack of transparency and accountability in its spending. However, MOH officials maintain that they need additional resources to bridge a significant financial gap, as Elizabeth Atieno details.
Tuesday, the Ministry of Health officials led by CS Dr. Deborah Barasa and the two principal secretaries Harry Kimtai and Mary Mudhoni appeared inarticulate as they were unable to explain how they have utilized billions of funds allocated to the ministry. A section of senators from the Senate Health Committee maintaining that the ministry does not deserve an increase in budgetary allocation unless they give a detailed breakdown of how the resources are being utilized.
There's a lot of unnecessary spending in the Ministry of Health, government spending. And I think it's about time for us to cut that spending.
You should provide a very comprehensive, detailed, itemized breakdown of that recurrent expenditure.
The State Department of Medical Services says it is grappling with a funding gap of 254.2 billion Kenya shillings following the allocation of 172.6 billion Kenya shillings against the 426.8 billion Kenya shillings needed to spearhead the operation of 4 key programs, including 56 billion for the National Referral and Specialized Services, 17 billion for the Curative, Maternal and Child Health, 3.6 billion Kenya shillings for the Health Research and Development, as well as 95 billion Kenya shillings for the General Administration, Planning and Support Services. Records from the Ministry of Health Finance Department reveal that the budget for the entire health sector has grown from 118 billion Kenya shillings to 204 billion. The budget for the State Department for Medical Services has increased from 91 billion to 172 billion Kenya shillings. This increase has been attributed to 76 billion Kenya shillings allocated to the Social Health Authority.
The budget of SHA, which is the collections that they are going to collect of 76 billion, was not included in our budget.
However, questions arose as to why SHA is domiciled under the State Department of Medical Services, yet it was designed to be semi-autonomous. PS Kimtai explaining that SHA could not be independent since the Primary Healthcare Fund and the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illness Fund are funded by the Exchequer.
Now, as an authority, they will be handling those functions as a state agency.
The money is budgeted for under the Ministry of Health and then pushed to us
for us to be able now to apply it under the fund.
So far, 20.5 million Kenyans have registered with SHA, with only 5 million contributing to SHIF. SHA now revealing that not all Kenyans are mandated to channel their monthly contributions to the fund. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47, Nyoro.
Thank you, Liz, for that breakdown. And now, barely a week after his removal from the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriations Committee, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro has finally spoken out. He revealed that he has not had any direct communication with President William Ruto since October last year. Nyoro, who is rumored to be in the process of registering a new political party, has been sending mixed signals on whether he fully supports Ruto's administration or is aligning with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Our political reporter Mike Agongo has the details to that.
Following his ouster from the National Assembly's Budget and Appropriations Committee last week, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro has broken his silence, highlighting his gratitude for the opportunity to lead one of the most influential committees. In his much-awaited press briefing, the son of Muranga revealed that he has not spoken to his party leader and once ally, President William Ruto, since October 2024.
The last discussion I had with the president of the country, the last political discussion, either a chat or a discussion, as it were, was before October of last year. And I would not want, and you permit me to do that, not to discuss any further about any leader, because as you're all aware, I stopped serving in my position. It's barely a week.
Speaking during a press briefing here in Nairobi Tuesday, Nyoro said no government official or member of the ruling coalition reached out to inquire about his work as the Budget Committee chair before and after his ouster.
I have not had any conversation directly or on phone with any leader of our coalition.
His political silence has been linked to a close relationship with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who was ousted in 2024. However, sources indicate that Nyoro is in the process to register his new political party, expected to be launched soon. This as former DP Rigathi Gachagua, during an interview on Monday, revealed that he was aware of parties sponsored by other forces to destabilize Mount Kenya region.
Nijui na dina wira president yajitie guthondeka ciama ingi arenda kurehe kirima-ini nigetha tugayani na ni abangite makandidate bari arenda kurugamia president nigetha tugayani arugamia andu atatu ana nigetha kura cia kirima igayukane nigetha ciage kene tondu guo niguo gwathire mwaka wa 1992 riria twarugamirie Kibaki na Matiba.
So sometimes, for a position to be created, one person has to forgo the years. And therefore, it's always a chase.
The lawmaker, who formerly had a close relationship with President William Ruto, has been silent for months prior to delivering his statement. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Back to health, the country could soon face another major disruption in the medical services as the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union, KMPDU, has vowed to issue a strike notice in May. The doctors are demanding that the government address grievances faced by medical interns and resolve concerns with the Social Health Authority, that is SHA. Today, they staged demonstrations in Nairobi, delivering petitions to SHA offices, the Ministry of Health and Parliament, calling for the full implementation of the 2017 collective bargaining agreement, as Sheila Chelengat details.
The demonstrations today started here at the Kenyatta National Hospital. These medical interns yet again ready to hit the streets. Just barely 3 months after they signed an agreement with the Council of Governors that would have seen interns maintain their salaries at 206,000 Kenyan shillings, ending their 56-day strike in December last year.
We have noticed a new trend where the new cohort, that is you, appear to maybe less aggressive or maybe less ready to be on the street. And there's a thought to reduce your wages back to 70,000.
These medics also remain agitated over delayed posting of interns, which they insist is yet another unfulfilled promise from their 2017 collective bargaining agreement.
That if last year's interns were able to demonstrate to be on strike and reject any useless letters, you must do it 10 times more.
We will not tire. Do not count on our desperation, because we will not tire.
It is a sad thing that a doctor has to offer a service they cannot afford.
They have also expressed frustration over the failure to establish the Public Officers Medical Fund under the Social Health Authority (SHA), which they say has left many of their officers without adequate medical cover.
That the Social Health Authority demand that every ninth of every month they remove workers from accessing services has to stop. And no amount of notices will stop this. So we are asking that there's no way workers will be going to the hospitals and not getting the care while they're being deducted faithfully.
Filed their petition calling for the need to streamline these issues, promising that failure to address these matters will lead them to issuing a strike notice.
It's upon the government to resolve these matters. Otherwise, there'll be total withdrawal of services by doctors across the entire country.
Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Now, the government, through the Higher Education Loans Board, HELB, has released 1.56 billion shillings to technical and vocational education and training TVET trainees for tuition and upkeep. This latest allocation brings the total disbursement for the 2024-2025 financial year to about 32.7 billion shillings. The move comes amid growing pressure from members of parliament and education stakeholders pushing for timely and adequate funding for students, as Andreen Kilemi details.
University and TVET students across the country can now breathe a sigh of relief after the Higher Education Loans Board HELB disbursed 1.5 billion shillings for tuition and upkeep. The delay in disbursement had left thousands of students stranded, with some struggling to meet basic needs. In a statement, Education Cabinet Secretary Julius Ogamba confirmed that the funds were released last Friday and would benefit 31,263 TVET trainees and 33,863 university students under the state-funded loan program. So far, HELB has disbursed a total of 32.7 billion shillings in the current financial year 2024-2025. The funds are expected to benefit 195,522 trainees in TVET institutions and 390,612 students in universities. The delay in releasing the funds to students has in the past sparked a wave of protests from university students who resorted to the streets to petition the government to act. The disbursement comes amid a push by members of parliament and other stakeholders over the delay in the disbursement of HELB funds, which had left thousands of students stranded financially. Andreen Kilemi, TV47.
Now, for many in society, and especially for married women, the joy of motherhood is a cherished expectation. The arrival of a child is seen as a blessing, bringing happiness to many. However, the inability to conceive and be called a mother is often regarded by some as a curse or misfortune. In this special report by our reporter Quinto Wafula, we explore just how the Ilchamus community is tackling the challenges of infertility, drought, and other misfortunes through cultural practices and prayers.
In Mukutani village, located in South Baringo, we meet Helen Lesuno, a 28-year-old woman who has never had a blessing of bearing a child. In the year 2012, she had an accident which led to a miscarriage, and since then, she has been unable to conceive.
Anguka chini, hiyo mtungi yangu ikarudi chini, mimi nikapita. Sasa venye nilipita, nikafika nyumbani sikuambiana nimeanguka. Halafu venye nilifika nyumbani nikaanza kuwa mgonjwa. Nilipoanza kwenda kutafuta hiyo mimba, nikaona sipati. Kumbe shida ilianzia hapo.
Today, outside her homestead, a group of women has gathered, singing songs of blessings. They then proceed to the banks of a river under a sacred sycamore tree. While continuing to sing, strands of hair are tied around Helen's neck as part of a ritual believed to enhance fertility. Later, they head to a hot spring where another traditional ceremony takes place.
Nasunguka hii miti ni wale wamezaa wasichana ya mbele ya kwanza yule amezaa msichana kwanza na tena ya mwisho ni msichana.
Samadi ama matope na kuweka maziwa na kukoroga, na kila mama hasa wale ambaye hawasai anaweka hapa, naweka mkono na kuweka hapa. Hiyo ni kusema sasa wanambariki apate kusaa.
Wamama sasa wakiimba hivi ama wakifurahi hivi, mimi hata pia nabarikiwa na hiyo kuomba ya wamama.
Meanwhile, in the same area, community elders have convened to conduct special prayers for rain. The area has suffered prolonged drought, and the threat of River Mkutani drying up has left them in despair.
Sehemu vidogo katika Jamhuri ya Kenya mvua imenyesha, lakini hapa ni manyunyi. Sisi nataka mvua inyeshe, alafu mali yetu ipone, mashamba yetu sisi napata chakula.
As part of the prayer ritual, the elders take a sheep to the river, dipping it in water until it begins to shiver, to them an indication that rain is coming. If the sheep does not tremble, it is believed that the community will face calamities. This sacred ritual is strictly conducted by elders who are regarded as most spiritually pure members of the society.
Sema tuingize maji itoke, ianza kufanya hivyo masikio na mwili yote kutoa hiyo maji. Hiyo ni kusema bas mvua itanyesha.
Iwasaidie kwa calamities yetu isiwakute. Kama ni drought, mvua ikuje inyeshe. Kama ni magonjwa, Mungu ipoeshe.
According to Benjamin Lecher, the area chief, these rituals have shown positive results over the years. His sentiments are echoed by other community members.
Na inafanya kazi kwa imani ya kimila na imewahi kufanya. Na hata hii ya leo tuna imani kwa sababu kuna mama ambaye hajafanikiwa kwa muda. Leo ni mwezi wa 3. Mwezi wa 3 mwaka ujao utasikia huyo mama akiwa amejifungua kwa na mtoto. Mvua ananyesha, ng'ombe anapata nyasi, sisi naendelea kulima, tunapata maji. Kila mtu anafurahi sasa.
The Ilchamus community, one of the indigenous group living along the shores of Lake Baringo, was recently granted Ilchamus ward as part of efforts to ensure political representation and equitable distribution of national resources. Kinto Wafula, TV47.
It's beautiful to just see how people value and celebrate their cultures in different ways, and therefore their own worldviews must be respected. Thank you, Quinto, for that beautiful piece. Our students from Magereza Mixed Secondary School in Kitengela today received menstrual health education alongside free sanitary towels as part of efforts to eradicate period shame in high schools. Speaking at the event, Softcare's Quality Assurance Manager emphasized that period stigma remains a significant concern in Kenyan schools, and that this year the Softcare Cares initiative is expanding to include boys in the awareness sessions, aiming to foster a more inclusive conversation, and that the school administration welcomed the program, expressing optimism that it will encourage girls to speak openly about their menstrual health challenges.
Care, we believe that we need to eradicate the stigma of the girl child. We need to give the girl child the opportunity to remain in classes, the opportunity to work in all dimensions, and therefore, as soft care, we move around. If the boy child understands better about the periods, it will not be there to stigmatize the girl child, and they will relate well with the girl child, and the girl child will be very okay even during her periods.
When we heard that Soft Care has an initiative where they're going to speak to our girls, they're going to educate them about their menstruation and things like that, we were really happy, and we felt like it would be a good opportunity for them. Someone who is a role model to them. We've seen size 8 here, and since they can relate to her, they have really been excited.
Na leo tuko wapi? Yes, and we are here with Soft Care.
All right, all is set for this evening's conversation that is on the People's Court, and of course we welcome you to be part of it, even as we ask this pertinent question, as the Ministry of Health assures the country that we are in the best of spaces, that is as to the situation of health, and of course in addressing the concerns of HIV and AIDS. Well, a majority of people then would argue that just like other African countries, after that executive order by Trump, there are possibilities that then we have been affected, and that maybe in about 3 months we might not be able to have ARVs or even testing kits in the country. Just where is the position is what we'll be asking this evening, and of course I'll have a very beautiful panel that will help us, decipher this and get to understand the status of us addressing concerns as to HIV and AIDS in the country after this break.
Coming up, Kenyan drivers and their international counterparts complete their route familiarization ahead of the
live streaming of your favorite.
Is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
You're watching TV47's Daily Report. Welcome back. Now, the National Oil Corporation of Kenya has entered into a strategic partnership with Rubis Energy Kenya to strengthen the country's oil and gas sector. The agreement follows the completion of the specially permitted procurement procedure for a non-equity strategic partner. And the partnership is expected to boost NOC's profitability, that is, to stabilize fuel prices and enhance the security of petroleum supply. And as part of the collaboration, Rubis Energy Kenya will then provide financial banking, or that is backing up market development and technical expertise to revamp NOC's operations, that is including rebranding, infrastructure rehabilitation, and expanding its retail network. The deal aligns with NOC's broader turnaround strategy for a long-term sustainability.
For savoir-faire, as we say in French, and the know-how, the expertise, the team, we managed to reach the ranking of number 2 in the Kenya market in terms of shares. So we believe we have something to bring to it.
Safaricom has launched the 3rd edition of its annual engineering summit, bringing together engineers, scientists, tech enthusiasts, and innovators to explore the future of engineering. Held under the theme, Charting East Africa's Digital Destiny, the 3-day event emphasizes the role of young innovators in shaping Kenya's engineering landscape, that is through sustainability and inclusivity. CEO Dr. Peter Ndegwa reaffirmed at Safaricom's commitment to empowering engineers as well as fostering collaborations. And with over 10,000 attendees, the summit will then showcase advancements in AI, fintech, and emerging technologies, positioning Kenya as a digital hub. Elsewhere, the Old Mutual Group has announced a 1.1 billion shillings rise in profit after tax from continuing operations for 2024, climbing from 0.2 billion in 2023 to 1.3 billion in 2024. This growth is driven by strong asset management performance, underwriting profits from insurance businesses, as well as solid returns on invested assets. A key contributor was the substantial reduction in finance costs, which dropped from 2.4 billion in 2023, that is to 1.2 billion in 2024, following the conversion of shareholder loans into equity. The shift has significantly eased the group's debt burden, creating a more sustainable capital structure.
Sports news brought to you by Maybets. Join Maybets leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1, au draw X, au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako, chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybets. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 0000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia, pesa inavutia.
Drivers and their international counterparts today completed their route familiarization ahead of the 2025 World Rally Championship Safari Rally. That is on Wednesday. The crews will participate in the shakedown before the race officially zooms off on Thursday at City Hall here in Nairobi. Tony Kwalanda highlights the preparations by local boy Evans Kavisi.
Shakedown, a curtain raiser for the 2025 WRC Safari Rally, will be held on Wednesday in Naivasha, Nakuru County. Monday and Tuesday were designated for route familiarization, commonly known as Reke. The race officially zooms off on Thursday at City Hall in Nairobi with 50 local and international drivers ready to tackle over 1,000 kilometers of competitive and liaison stages. Evans Kavisi is amongst the 18 Kenyan drivers who will be participating in the annual competition, which doubles up as the Africa Rally Championship, Kenya National Rally Championship, and WRC Division 2 and 3.
I'm glad to be back to motorsport, and it's something I thoroughly enjoy, and I'd lost a little bit of that. So I'm looking forward to enjoying the stages. Navigated by Absalom Aswani, they will be steering a Mitsubishi Evolution 10, and they are part of the KCB racing team, which comprises of ARC champion Karan Patel, Nikhil Sachania, and Tinashe Gatimu. The car has been worked on for quite a while now. It's in tip-top condition. We rebuilt almost everything from the bottom up. We had a few gremlins to start with, but it's typical of this lifestyle. So we are used to having problems every once in a while. Other local drivers include Pauline Shegu, Carl Tundo, Jeremiah Wahome, Hamza Anwar, Saman Vohra, Akif Virani, Jasmeet Chana, Rio Smith, Minesh Rathod, Isa Amwari, and Ishmael Azeli. I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun and finishing the event. I don't have a lot of things I'm asking for, and the rest I'm leaving up to God. Kalle Rovanperä of Finland is the defending champion of the WRC Safari Rally, and the Toyota Superstar will be up against Hyundai, Ford, Skoda, and Subaru. Tony Kwalanda, TV47 Sports.
In that spirit, or in the same spirit, the Kenya Tourism Board has intensified its efforts to tap into the growing motorsports enthusiasm in the East African region ahead of the WRC Safari Rally slated for Thursday, the 20th of March. The push comes as a contingent of motorsports fans, that is from Tanzania, Uganda and Rwanda, are set to arrive in Naivasha on Wednesday, forming the vanguard of spectators from the region converging for the showpiece. Now, the touring fans, a part of organized travel groups from the three countries, will be treated to the scenic route, highlighting some of Kenya's eye-catching landscapes and abundant wildlife as they make their way to Naivasha.
Niseme kwamba wale tulionao hapa leo, siku ya leo, ni baadhi ya mashabiki 60 ambao watakaokuwa wakielekea Kenya. Kuna baadhi yao ambao wako hapa kutokea Dar es Salaam, lakini pia kuna wengine ambao wataungana nao kuanzia Moshi na maeneo ya Arusha ili kuelekea moja kwa moja hadi Naivasha. Na hawa tu ni baadhi ya mashabiki wengi ambao wanaenda Kenya katika kushuhudia ama kujiunga na mashabiki wengine kwenye mashindano haya ya magari ya kimataifa.
When we flag off a team of Tanzanians and Kenyans also in the diaspora who are visiting Kenya for WRC 2025. Like you've heard, we have been promoting this event through even the radio, and we had a winner who has just spoken before me, and we are very happy and excited to see him go and witness this great event.
Sports news brought to you by Maybet. Join Maybet Maybets leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1 au draw X au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako, chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybets. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 0000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia, pesa inavutia.
Anticipated or the projected ARV shortage crisis is what we'll be discussing right here. That is on the People's Court. We have able panelists that will help us, get to understand whether what is being projected by the World Health Organization is a cause for alarm, or perhaps as a country we are well positioned. On the other side, we'll be having the audience as well who will help us just tell us what they make of this situation, even as the different parts of the world continue to grapple with that executive order by the President of the United States, that is Donald Trump, as to halting the funding processes, especially on the health sector. So allow us to take a quick short break, and then we come back on that very note. Coming up tonight on the People's Court, we investigate: is there any ARV supply crisis?
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Cometh the hour, and the guests are all seated ready for this important conversation. I hope you could be part of us. As always, the hashtag is the Daily Report, as well as the People's Court. Hashtag People's Court at Linda_Alela TV47 KE. I'll be sampling some of your questions as we proceed with the broadcast. Tell us your situation, where it is that you are at, and what the people are feeling generally as to these concerns that are being raised that in no time we're going to have shortage of ARVs. There are some people who say they have already begun experiencing this, but the government then maintains that we are not badly off as a country. This occasioned by that halting of funding that is by the US government, and of course to USAID as well as PEFRA. And a majority of people then would ask, what does Africa need to do to ensure that they position themselves such that when such orders then come on board, they are able to manage, as opposed to always depending on funding. And so on this very set, we are delighted to have Dr. Shamsa Ahmed on my farthest left. Dr. Shamsa is the head of infectious disease MP Shah Hospital. Thank you so much for creating time to be here with us this evening. And then we also have Angela Langat, MBS, the Director, National Endemic Disease Control Council. Thank you so much for creating time. We equally have Kaikai Naipamei, CEO Youth Champions for SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Asante Sana as well for creating time. And last but not least, on this side, we have Dr. Samuel Kinyanjui, the Country Director of that is AIDS Healthcare Foundation, AHF. Asante Sana for creating time once again. And on this other side of the audience, I'll be giving them the microphone as they get to introduce themselves. But lazima tusalimie the King. The King is in the house as well. He'll be introducing himself. Thank you so much, King, for creating time. I think this is a moment that then the world, the country is eagerly waiting to hear from you and what we suppose would be the direction, even as we continue to get worried as to the concerns that have been raised by the World Health Organization. And since we have specialists on board, I think I will go straight to it and, of course, just get to ask some of these pertinent questions as to where we are at as a country. I think then this goes straight to you, Angela.
Yes. Thank you, Linda, for this opportunity to be in this People's Court. This is my first time.
Yes, it's basically the first time.
Yes, it's my first time.
Here. No,
yes.
Only one gentleman. You've been here before, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let me do a status analysis of where we are at as a country.
And I hope you can project so that at least this other side.
Oh, so I hope you can hear me. I speak very softly. So President Donald Trump signs an executive order on the 20th of January, 14169. And then subsequent to that, that executive order has a 90 period, which ends on the 19th of April. And he wants to reevaluate his foreign aid. Once he signs that executive order, there are 7 other pronouncements that happen where there's a stop work order. So people are either released from work, there's disruption of services. So that is what happens. And of course, that affects the whole world, including Kenya. So as a country, last week, we were a bit worried of one of the drugs for our children, nevirapine. And it's because the drug was available in the country, but we were unable to access it because the coordination of our supply chain is done through 3 mechanisms. The Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, which is KEMSA, Mission for Essential Drugs and Supplies, that's MEDS, and then the Ministry of Health. So the drugs were at MEDS, but we were unable to access them because of that temporary disruption in terms of supply chain. So MEDS could not distribute the drugs and the government could not access the drugs. But as of last week on Friday, remember, the Cabinet Secretary for Health flagged off some medicines. And last week, MEDS received communication from DC to allow them to be able to draw down money and do the distribution for the drugs. So as we speak right now, the drugs are being distributed. So if I can give you some statistics, for TLD, the quantities available are over 2 million packs, and the stock level is 4.7 months of stock.
Okay.
As of now. Months. Okay. The next consignment is over 4.8 million packs. Okay. And by the end of June, we'll have a stock of 11 months.
Okay.
So from where we sit, it is true. We have secured stock levels for the whole country from several months now up to close to 2 years. Right. So there should not be any panic in the country as we speak. Last week we were a bit worried because, of course, the disruption of PEPFAR-supported programs was to the tune of 8 billion Kenya shillings for HIV commodities. Okay. But then now that has started to unlock itself. Yes.
Okay, and so we're just looking at this year.
Yes.
If the executive order were to stand, then what?
We have stock for 11 months.
11 months. Yes. 11 months is as good as, you'd say, a year, and now crossing over.
So we have 3 funding mechanisms. There's Ministry of Health.
Okay.
That's government. And then we have Global Fund, and then we have U.S. government.
Okay.
So the U.S. government is 8.9.
Right.
Then we have Global Fund and the ministry.
Standing at what percentages?
So the Global
US is
Fund,
8.9?
Yes, Global Fund and USG, we've had a very heavily land response on that too, of 80%, and then the government 20%. But notwithstanding, in terms of stock levels, we are fine.
Okay.
So there should be not any panic at that.
So if any delays in different parts of the country, this was just occasioned
This was occasioned by the fact that there was a temporary stop.
Okay.
But now, because of what happened last week, Medsna is able to do the distribution.
Okay.
The government is also trying to ensure we expedite some of the procurement for the different drugs.
All right.
Yes.
I hope you have seen the report by the World Health Organization that raises concern that there are possibilities that this could, cause alarm, that is for countries like Haiti, Kenya, Lesotho, South Sudan, Burkina Faso, Mali, Nigeria, and Ukraine. And this is the World Health Organization that is highlighting this concern. They go ahead to say that this could undo 20 years of the progress that we have made as to addressing, the concerns of HIV and AIDS. And of course, this is the Secretary General himself, Tedros, who goes ahead again to say that it could easily lead to 10 million additional HIV cases and 3 million HIV-related deaths, that is in the mentioned countries or even globally. What does it mean when we're going to speak about the fact that we are good and the World Health Organization then highlights this? Whom should we trust? Perhaps to come to you, Senior.
So thank you very much. Like you've already said, my name is Dr. Kinyanjui, Country Director of AIDS Healthcare Foundation. And they said numbers don't lie.
Okay.
And I just wanted to paint the scenario because I tend to agree with Tedros and WHO. Because when the numbers, if you look at some study that was done during COVID time in the year after COVID, the year 2022, that's printed in the Science, the journal Science, they were able to demonstrate that in any Sub-Saharan African countries during that time, interruptions of treatment resulted in an increase in possibility of transmission by a factor of 1.6%, and mortality increased by 1.06. Transmission from mother to child increased by, at the same time, at 1.6. When you say those numbers, they don't look big, but if you just put them in a grid, and which we did here, in Kenya, this would mean that 1 year of half the year disruption for nearly between 40 and 50% of the people would increase the number of, we're using 2023 data, we started with the year with about 8,000 children born to HIV mother who also turned positive. This disruption would increase that number by an additional 5,040.
Okay.
And a subsequent year would move that number from 8,000 to 21,000. And by the third year, would already be looking at more than 34,000.
Right.
These are numbers we had 10 years back. So 3 years of disruption would easily return us to where we were in 2014 or 2015. If you look at the total number of additional cases of new infection for the country, we're looking at from 22,000, this number would shoot back to over 90,000 in a year. This is where we were, I think, around 2011 or 2010.
Okay.
If you look at the numbers in cash, right now, any additional case of HIV per year costs the government and stakeholders about 15,000 per year in terms of cost. So the 22,000 that we got last year will cost government and its partners almost 300 million. But you translate that one to another 3 years with the disruption, this number can easily bulge to nearly 1.9 billion.
Do you suppose as a country we're ready for that? Bulging and...
Definitely we are not.
Definitely we are not. Interesting.
Definitely we are not.
And we'll be coming to Dr. Shamsa to understand what the private sector looks like. But before then, we come to you, Naipamei. The Sustainable Development Goals will automatically, adversely be affected by these numbers that are talking about, retrogressive approaches where then we will go back from what it is that are the gains that we have made. What do you make of this? What do you think, this would affect or how this would actually impact, and especially on the youth, who equally we have a huge number, as of course highlighted by the medics, that perhaps they could be holding the highest number of cases that is on HIV and AIDS.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, of course, Kenya has progressed so much in SDG 3, which is universal healthcare coverage. But then the stop of funds for vaccines, majorly, which affects kids and people with HIV, which is what we're talking about, will, of course, pose a lot of risk, especially to young people, because as the world evolves, we are adapting new cultures. And as we adapt new cultures, we assume in court that the government got it covered. Like before this announcement by the US president, condoms were available in all public universities for free, for both male and female.
Right.
And before this announcement, you could walk to any public hospital and you get a VCT test for free, and you start your medication, if any. But then if the 11 months stock are over, and maybe the country doesn't have the 1.9 billion for the new people who have gotten an infection, it will pose a great risk to the young people, given that we party a lot. Our generation is a party generation. So as a champion for SDG, what we will call for is that we get to have more conversations and more training for the young people to be responsible for their health and behaviors, because that is the safest way for individuals who are not yet affected. But those who are affected then, maybe there is a light at the end of the tunnel, given that we have 11 months stock, which the government can figure out, and also the appropriation bill, which is signed the other day. There is an increase of around 13 billion or so to the Ministry of Health. Hopefully, it will cater for the vaccines and the most important medication needed in the country.
All right, and I'm glad we have a specialist here so that they can help us, understand this better. Dr. Ahmed, what is the situation like that is for the private sector? Because then we want to look in such, a moment which then appears like pretty much a global crisis. We want to look at it, lenses of basically, the health sector, as opposed to, the health sector where there's the private sector and then there's the public sector. What is the situation like? How different is it? Or perhaps would we say that we are sailing in the same boat and therefore this alarm raised then affects us across?
So thank you for having me. So I run an HIV clinic at the MP Shah Hospital. So that's a completely private institution.
Okay.
And usually the concept is you would think that it's a private hospital, so they have lots of money. These are things that are not going to affect them. But the truth is we feed into the same procurement, we feed into the same supply chain.
Yeah.
And that's how even in a private hospital, you'll still be able to provide these services for free, meaning you can get your ARVs for free, you can still get some of your lab tests and things done for free, because we work hand in hand. The private sector responded the same way. We had the same panic when we saw that executive order. It's nice that we're having this discussion now. Even Angela and I were talking that there's steps that you can see the government is doing, but at that time we all panicked. But you see, this has happened before. We're getting stressed out by this particular president, but even during the Obama administration, 2016, we had something similar. They cut funding, we panicked, people talked to them and they managed to give it back to us. 2019, we had something similar with blood. The US pulled back funding for blood transfusion. We went through panic, we kind of got over that. I think what we should be saying now is in terms of public and private, how can we leverage these partnerships so that we stop panicking every time somebody pulls back from us?
Right.
Because what this keeps revealing is that we have donor dependence. So we have big things that are running in our country that we can't sustain if someone decides they don't like us anymore or they just don't feel we're important. We have donor concentration. So what we've done is whoever is funding us, we've got maybe 3 or 4 people. So you see, you have USAID or you have the US government, and then we say Global Fund, but it's the US that also gives money to Global Fund.
Right.
Then you have the UK, and you've seen even the UK has pulled back aid on certain things the other day. Then you have Gavi, but Gavi targets maybe certain things, vaccines. So what we're seeing is, as we're coming up with these solutions, this crisis management, what we're supposed to be thinking about is what's our sustainability and what is our transition plans.
Okay.
So a lot, I think, as we go forward is public-private partnerships need to be better. So there's a way we can support each other whenever we're having shortages on this side and that side.
Fair enough. And we come to this side. First of all, King Hujambo. Wasalama. When you hear about all this talk, what gets into your mind? And you know, you've been traversing the different parts of the country, just talking about abstinence, you know, use of condom, and now here we are.
This is a big shock to most of us that survive in the area of HIV for the last almost 30 years or 20 years. We have nothing else that we can do apart from campaigning on safer sex. That's what we have done for a long time. And I think this is one thing that will take us back to the beginning of HIV. Because now people that have been getting ARVs or people who have been so comfortable in the world of HIV/AIDS will not be comfortable anymore. They will start aiding. Now we are going to see stigma coming back. And I want to put it very serious that HIV does not have a local name in any community. Like in Kikuyu community, HIV is called Mokingo because people were they were slimming and the neck was pulling. Now, if we miss HIV and we miss this prevention strategy that have been doing very well, people will start pointing people and stigmatizing people. So we'll go back to the drawing board. We'll do now a lot of HIV awareness again. About young people, they are so comfortable with HIV because a lot of young people have been born with HIV. Like HIV is 40 years. Now somebody born with HIV, living with 35 years with HIV is comfortable and not having stigma. And even people cannot identify that person in the community. So if we withdraw these and disrupt the system, we are going to have a very great impact in our society. Counting that 70% of people living with HIV/AIDS, the whole world, are in Africa. We have the biggest burden, and we are suffering. Like now, AHF have been giving us free condom. So if the government doesn't have condom, AHF have been giving us condom for free. We are going for weekend. Vasha. Vasha is a great thing.
It's for the rally thing. Yeah?
Yes, I'm preparing myself to go there, but I have no condom
to give out.
Yes.
So then we must admit that somehow we have been affected.
In fact, we don't even have people to. For the first time, we'll miss people like AHF. I don't know whether they are coming. National AIDS Control Council. are not coming. We are not going to have the main characters who help us at least to give information about HIV. These are very big bro for our campaign.
And because the representatives, some of the representatives are here, they'll tell us whether they'll be coming or not. But then I think I'm tempted to come back to you, but to respond to that, because then no matter how much we want to say that all is well, it appears that all is actually not well.
Okay, so let me backtrack a bit. As Dr. Shamsa was saying, the conversation of sustainability has been with us for 15 years.
Yes.
Okay? We've been talking about how to sustainably have a good response. Okay? And for the last 15 years, there's been that conversation. And as she says, it's not the first time that we've had a disruption like this before. But there is hope. For the first time, as a country, we developed an operational plan to guide the country to get ready for this process.
Okay.
What now has happened is that we were moving at gear 3, but now we have to move at gear 7.
Okay.
It's like you're walking with a friend and the friend bolts and you have to keep walking. So this, our strategy as government is to ensure that the next AIDS framework, because they happen in 5 years cycle, that we're able to ensure that service delivery and systems, governance, healthcare financing, we have all our eggs in the right basket, and make sure that we are not relying on this 80%, because 80% is huge.
Yeah.
So we developed this operational plan, and it was launched by the Cabinet Secretary on the 1st of December. And this plan, we are now in phase 2, and we are already rolling the ball.
Okay.
We've developed tools to collect data. So we are doing this differently because a few years ago, we developed something called the Kenya Health Transition Plan. And we said that we needed X number of commodities, we needed this kind of human resources for health. But then again, that document, because of the amounts of money that was there, people were very scared about the amounts. Yes.
Dr. Samuel seems to disagree, but allow me to, engage the lady and the gentleman as well. Nataka gentleman aanze ama mnataka lady? The ladies first. Ladies, she has a mic. Let us agree that we all are affected in a way. Because then, of course, you probably know someone who's infected, or you are infected, or maybe a family member, a friend, and everything, is affected. And therefore, when we're having these conversations, we must really bring them down to the level of the home state, to, the localities that we are in. What do you make of the situation? US wakisema now, we pull off the funding, and all of a sudden there's panic all over. Do you suppose that the government has addressed this matter in the best manner, such that hata watu pale kwa ground then are at peace, that there's no cause for alarm?
Thank you so much. Vera. I'm a peer mentor at a facility.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be talking out of experience. Since the USAID thing started, it has not been easy, because there is tension from the recipients of care. They always have questions. They come to you. They want to know much. Now I'm coming from the community in Dandora. Na hapo kuna watu, like, they always want to know things. So the clients will come to you as an individual because they know you are in that facility. You just have to know. Because saizo wendo unawafanyanga follow up, wendo unawafuatanga, wakikuja their meds. So they'll always come, they want to know much, they want to know if there are drugs. Right. So it has been a challenge because of the tension from the recipients of care. And also in the facility, we've been lacking some services like VL uptake, the viral load uptake.
Hold the mic, Vizuri.
And again, there are no prophylaxis for the kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Up until,
the mothers.
Up until when? Because then Angela here says that at least that has been addressed.
Yeah, the ARVs
the latest
are there.
You experienced a concern.
Latest we have experienced in our facility, there are no prophylaxis for the children.
Until today?
Yeah, from last week.
From last week?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Gentlemen. can go first.
Yes. Kwa majina naitwa Franklin Wanyama, na mimi kenye naweza sema ni since hii story itokee venye ambassador amesema, there is a lot of stigma yenye come up. Ile stigma yenye tumejaribu kuchapana nayo for long, unapata for now ni kama inaanza kurudi.
Okay.
Na inarudi na with a lot of energy, whereby you find like the community inasema like sasa dawa zikikosekana tutawajua. Cause sasa wataanza kuisha as in the way the community is putting it.
Yeah.
It's totally making most of the HIV positive people much afraid. So unapata like sai mtu HIV positive anaweza zunguka facilities ku collect dawa. Unapata anatoka hii anaenda anachukua anasema ilipotea, anaenda kwa hii ingine.
So that they have a stock.
Yeah, kuweka stock because they don't know of what is coming kwa sababu pia social media na nini, there is a lot that is being given. Some is true, some is wrong. But so unapata huyu anataka akuwe na hizo dawa, so ana rotate several facilities ku collect just in case anything.
And there's an opening to that. Ile unaweza enda kwa hii facility na hiyo ingine. That's allowed, yeah? That really is allowed?
No, it's not allowed.
It is not allowed. No. Interesting. Okay, we'll be coming back to that.
Okay, it's not allowed, but you know now when they come, they don't tell you direct like they have medication. Watakuambia maybe zilipotea, or maybe wanachukulianga facility ingine, or maybe walikuwa na travel. So even if it's not allowed, but those are some of the tactics they are using, of which I feel like we might go some steps backward if it's not addressed. Another thing is also, let's say like me, I was born HIV positive. Kuna services zenye nilikuwa nikipata pale facility. In terms of maybe pia tukikutana, kuna some session, kuna pale adherence counselor, kuna several people. Apart from, you know, I tend to see like, inaonekana like HIV ni kuchukua tu hiyo tembe na kumeza. It's not all about kumeza tembe. There is some issues that need to be addressed in terms of adherence counselors, in terms of peer educators, in terms of youth friendly. So I feel like there is a lot that needs to be addressed other than dawa. It's not all about dawa. You need to also know, where is this person coming from? What are the challenges is he or she going through? Mental issues. So let's not...
Have this been addressed previously? I mean, before this order that we're talking about?
Yeah, it was there kwa sababu tulikuwa na adherence counselors, tulikuwa na peer educators, tulikuwa na a lot of people who are at the facility trying to help out. So unapata like hiyo support yenye nilipata until where I am now, unapata like it's tending to be totally different. Kwa sababu nimesikia kuna kitu inataka kufanyika inaitwa integration.
Right.
We have not been defined well. Integration itafanywa aje? I'm much afraid whereby tuseme napelekwa county hospital.
Yes.
Hii county hospital tutakuwa tunachukulia dawa famasi moja. Na dawa zetu ndio hizi zimeandikwa kwa social media. Kila mtu anajua hii chupa ni ARVs. How will I pick my medication at the pharmacy level? So as much as we are trying to work on it, we need to polish a lot that needs to be worked on. Kwa sababu unapata kama sisi wanaume, sisi hatubebangi mabags kwenda facility. Mimi ndachukua hiyo chupa nitokeleze. But at the end of the day nikishapata na pale na watu wenye na wajua, how will it happen? The stigma will grow. So we need to think about it.
Interesting. Okay,
thank you for having me. I'm Smiles, peer educator and an OTZ champion. Okay, speaking about the USAID and the program fund, yeah, it has really cost a lot. Speaking as he has said about integration, for me I've seen, because I happened to travel last week. I'm from Nakuru, so I happened to pass there to the facility I used to go. So the facility is already integrated, and the HIV clients are supposed to register with 200 shillings at the facility. Ndio aende kwa OPD aonekane na daktari. So inaturudisha back to the stigma time juu most of the clients hawako used to that program thing. And the money hawana juu each and every time unaenda clinic unatoa hiyo 200 kujiregister.
Okay.
Yeah, so another thing is the youth friendly things. Yeah, I have been working with the youths. I have a group connecting youths countrywide, and speaking back then, we had youth friendly activities, and we were used to be supported by the programs. As we said, about the Safari Rally, we used to go as Team Maisha Youth and OTZ. We go there, distribute condoms, and give awareness about how to prevent STIs. But since that stop order came, we have no information. We are there lacking behind.
Okay.
We have no condoms to distribute to the communities, and awareness is not taking place at the society. So you find like most of the cases, the youths pocket themselves, visit a place,
okay,
have fun there as they are educating the communities.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, you can say something before we cross over to get some response on this side.
Okay, I'm Maxwell, a peer educator. Now, this peer educator thing, we have no idea where the peer educators are falling when it comes to integration.
Okay.
Because even the clinical officers, everyone, the CCC is being dissolved. So you have no idea where, the peer educator is there. We start from the peer educators going up. Right now, we have no idea.
Okay.
We don't know where the peer educators are. But the foundation of that CCC, when a new client comes in, test positive, when he's tested or she test positive, the first person is a peer educator.
Peer educator.
Yeah.
Okay.
But right now, when you test to some hospitals, you test positive, you just move around. You move around to the clinician, pharmacy, and then you go home.
Could you please enlighten the masses just what a peer educator does, like you say? I mean, prior to this integration conversation, where were you positioned? And I mean, are there any form of payments that are made to peer educators? Is this something that you voluntarily do? Or what exactly goes on?
Okay, a peer educator is like
Are you under an organization mostly?
You volunteer under an organization
Okay.
to educate the people who are new to that journey, the ones who are continuing to take their medication.
Okay.
Because you might find some are taking their medication, then it comes a time they stop.
Yeah.
So you have to follow up on them.
Some of them would actually refuse from the onset. Yes.
But right now, you are finding that even the person you are pushing to take the medication, right now when all the organization fall, sahi hakutakuwa na mtu anafuata huyo mtu.
Okay.
Unaona? Sasa utapata watu sasa hakuna mtu anafuatilia. Kila mtu ni kivyake. Kitaka kumeza dawa, ukose kumeza, no one cares.
Interesting. Very important, concerns raised here. And nazile vitu za ground, basically what it is that we want to hear. We perhaps come back to you and just ask this very questions that they are asking as to this element of integration and this, withdrawal funding, the impact that, it would bring eventually. Because in as much as we want to say that we are in that process of making sure that we are liberated, reality is that from what they say, the impact is being felt on ground. And therefore, there's a huge gap that needs to be covered.
When you're looking at what was cut, you see, like we're saying, the show is talking about ARVs, but when you look what was cut and what was allowed,
yes,
there's a whole cascade. When you start with just awareness in the community. Remember, we even have community health workers, yeah? We have the peer educators, you have mentors, you have many people who come from the community who actually do the work of getting the community to buy into what all these donors are saying. And at the end of the day, HIV is a trust game. You know, we've had to build trust with these patients who've been with us. And right now, what we've done is we've broken that trust. It doesn't matter whether the funding was coming from somewhere else. It's we are the faces of whatever it is that we've been doing. So we've broken that trust.
Okay.
And then in a way, we're coming back and saying, no, don't worry, we'll sort it out. But like they're saying, you're going to lose a whole cohort. And we've lost patients already, yeah? We've lost patients to other places to see whether they're literally going to other towns to see if they can get medication. So we've broken that trust. So when we're saying, yes, we've got medication and we've got this, but when we've broken that trust and broken this whole set of people who support a single individual who have HIV, I don't think we've addressed that. And you've got the actual people telling you, we've not addressed that. What we've done is we don't have medication, we've missed it for a little while, we've got the medication back, but in our sustainability plan, I don't think any of this has been addressed. And again, you see, that would be the difference, unfortunately, between public and private. So that if you did have a counselor and you have, you know, your mentorship and you have your groups, those things at the private, those would continue because you see your payroll and your support would be coming from that hospital. But you see, when you look at these programs, when they started, remember, they came from a donor who decided this is your problem and this is how you people are going to solve it. And we're going to give you a lot of money. We'll build the hospital, we'll pay the doctor, we'll pay this. But the moment they took away that money, that thing would die. After a little while, it became, let's make it slightly sustainable, meaning I'll pay Shamsa for 3 years, but at the last 2 years, your facility better know how they're going to take her on. So that's what we need to be looking at, that even if suddenly someone turns around and says they want to fund this, or the government says they want to fund this, we need to know how we're going to be able to replace all of these gaps. This is really devastating. I hope the people who are listening are really listening to what is going on here. You know, I trained in Kenyatta for my undergraduate, yeah? At that time, that was what you called AIDS. Those were the patients that you were seeing. By the time I was going back for my master's, that's not what you saw. Because that's the kind of gains that we made. So it is devastating to think that in another 4 years, we're going to go back.
Reversing all this.
Yes, so as much as we talk about the medication, everything they're saying is extremely, extremely important.
Yes.
So as we talk about this, we really need to know how we're going to sort out all of these issues as well.
And I mean, that would have been my question, because then reality is that we have a long-term health consequence that would come with this. And the question then would be, just how is the government planning to make sure that they bridge all this gap? And like we had begun by saying, the conversation revolved around ARV and the concerns that we have. But listening to this, lady and gentlemen, the reality is that, like Dr. says, it goes beyond that. How do we manage this?
So thank you very much, Linda. I had my notes here that say a road to sustainable healthcare.
Yeah.
I want to strongly agree first with my colleagues from they're telling us what's happening on the ground, because we also are working in 12 counties and we've gotten the same reports. It's generally not allowable to take medication from various facilities.
Yes, that was...
But when there is this level of uncertainty, Kenyans will not sit back and wait.
Yeah.
So what they do is that they want to stockpile. And therefore, they've been going around with all sorts of stories and collecting medications from various facilities.
And there are chances that maybe some are actually paying for that because, I mean...
No, they're not paying.
But there's no possibility. They're just
stockpiling because I'm on transit.
Yes.
Or my medication. They can even come to the same facility and say, oh, you know, I got robbed and my bag went and it had my meds.
Okay.
Then you replace for them, not knowing they are stockpiling.
Right.
So they may stockpile and we may end up even with some of the drug wasted because they may expire, because if the supply is as good as we are getting to know from the government. But I wanted to address the real loss that we've had with this stop order. Number one is that the cost of delivering health services, not just HIV, the biggest cost is the HR, is the staff.
Okay.
That will account for almost 70% of the budget. And with it, we look at the government structure as only basically starts with the nurse. And therefore it misses out. The government does not have a job description for a peer mentor, for a mentor educator, even for community health worker they don't employ. And as a result, all these support structure that links, that anchors a new client into this care, lifelong care, is missing. And that's what they were explaining. That is a HIV diagnosis is a devastating finding about your life. And therefore, you need a stable hand, somebody who will walk with you, tell you, I have been here.
Right.
And I was like you, and I am here. And I will walk with you. If you have any questions that you cannot ask the doctors, ask me. If you need somebody to help you navigate, ask me. And that's what this role that's brought by this cadre we call mentor mothers, for if we are dealing with the mothers who have just given birth, who were expectant, mentor fathers, they are there. We have peer educators, and they're strongly important, especially for the teenagers. So we've lost that. The other thing that we've not mentioned and is critical, it is also the lab works. It is important to be able to investigate and know, are these medications we're giving to our clients, are they a help or are they damaging their organs? And that one, right now over the months, we've been stockpiling samples from clients for viral load, CD4 count, for children, EID. We've been stockpiling. As a result, they say we have lab kits that should last us 4 months, but we have been stockpiling for months. We may utilize all of it in the next 1 month. My sister there already said that while the drugs were distributed since Friday, or flagged off since Friday, the pipeline takes time. That's why she's saying on the ground, they are yet to be felt, because they have to be received at the county level. From the county level now, then they are distributed. That's why even some facilities have not received. When they have been received, there's a whole process to get them ready to where they are needed.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, and allow us to take a quick short break. It's exactly 30 minutes past the top of the hour, and then we come back, and IPMA will be coming back to you as to just how much of involvement and engagement of the youth is happening as to addressing this, creating awareness, as well as, just making sure that the youth test themselves, that, they engage in safe sex and so much more, because then ultimately we are looking at a sustainable development goals. Do we suppose that we're going to have a future that is well catered for, with a healthy youth that can take up that, right? After this break.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it, or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home, do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget, regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Welcome back to the People's Court. You see, the bone of contention that brought us here, or the concern that brought us here, was likely on the alarm that has been raised by the World Health Organization that there's going to be a crisis in Kenya and various African countries as to this withdrawal of funding by the US government. And of course, that has largely affected, the distribution of ARVs in the different countries. Well, the government maintains that we need not to get worried. For about 11 months, we are catered for. But of course, we cannot fail to get worried and therefore ask pertinent questions as to whether indeed, after the 11 months, will be good to stand still or perhaps good to flow. And of course, as we get to this, we realize that beyond that, there are very many other concerns that are being raised. Before I come to you, briefly, and this is a question that many people are asking, and perhaps even the World Health Organization itself is saying, do you suppose that the United States had the responsibility to approaching the withdrawal of direct funding, in a rather fair, slowly manner, such that we do not just wake up and, there's this executive order and we do not know what to do?
Okay. But I think we have been seeing some signals na hazijaanza leo. And hizi signals, I think the Kenyan government ingekuwa imeanza kuprepare.
Okay.
Because I feel like 1 million plus people, it's a very huge population of people who are living HIV positive. And I feel like we build up the economy. Hii ushuru inaongelelea, we are part of it because we work. So I feel like we should be part of the health cover the country, whereby we should be receiving these services just like any other person. Because I feel like we are only tackling HIV. You are telling me viral load yangu imelala, niko sawa. But do you think I have also other conditions? Mtu wa sukari, mtu wa pressure. Umeniambia viral load yangu imelala, uko sawa.
Yeah.
But where will I get those other lab tests zenye? At least we have been highlighted.
Yes.
Let's say, maybe baki viral load na ni peke yake, si ndio? What of other things? Kitu kama kuangaliwa kama figo, maini, nini. Where will we get those cash? Kwa sababu we have always been knowing, sometimes tumekuwa tukifanyiwa hizo vitu free. Unaona? And then, when we come back to the issue of stigma, let's go back to the drawing board. Atusemi integration ni mbaya, but we should ask ourselves, mbona CCC zilikuwa zinatengwa kando? Unaget? Okay. We need to also find out why that was happening.
Okay. And we want Angela to respond to that. But also, do you think it was inhumane for the United States to just wake up and decide that they're pulling out this funding? Do you think wangeipeleka systematically so that they allow us to catch up?
I think the signals zimekuwa, and I feel like either way, our president is root in the country, Kenya. So I don't feel like we should be talking about Trump thing. We should be talking about Kenya.
Okay.
We are in Kenya, so our issues need to be addressed by the government of Kenya.
Fair enough. Let's listen into what the government of Kenya has to say as to this, and then we come back to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to report that we have secure stock levels of key ARVs and testing kits, with supplies ranging from several months to close to 2 years. Specifically, we have adequate supplies of TLD, pediatric ARVs, nevirapine suspension, and other HIV testing commodities. We are also ensuring consistent availability of early infant diagnosis and viral loading test reagents. Secondly, abacavir, lamivudine, these are dispersible tablets, packs of 30s, which is the first-line ARV in pediatric patients administered together with dolutegravir. Currently, there are over 326,000 packs at KEMSA, translating to over 7.4 months of stocks. There are plans to introduce a fixed dose combination for August 2025, and we have over 18 months of stock of this product, which are on order, with scheduled deliveries from June 2025 onwards.
I hope that comes in handy to give us confidence. But let's talk about, a healthy youth, like me, in terms of creation of awareness, in terms of speaking to the youth to engage in safe sex, in terms of making sure that they are part of this conversation with knowledge good enough such that we can talk about abstinence, such that we can talk about protection, preventive elements, as opposed to, anything curative, maybe before it gets to that.
Okay, thanks again. On the topic is health, which is SDG 3. We have a very huge gap whereby the Ministry of Health has never really integrated the advocacy and policy engagement with the youngest population, which is the biggest and the most risky in terms of HIV. So the conversation will be, even most of these things being talked, most youth who involve themselves are on private organization, community and stuff. But the Ministry of Health has never really given that space to partner with the young people and say, those youths who are doing advocacy in matters of health, we are working together to empower you to continue with the advocacy, and even when they're coming up with policies on, now that we have this gap, how are the youth going to fit in? But rather, the ministry is always waiting for them to react when a problem comes, which is a very bad way of leading a very important sector like health.
Okay.
We can't wait until when the young people are dying every day. Then the ministry says, we want a seat with the youth.
Okay.
No, we refuse that. We want the ministry to create a space whereby they will be involving the youth in advocacy, in policy, and also even sometimes financing such youth who are doing peer education in primary school, high school, universities, because not all universities are capable to do that. The University of Nairobi does it every semester, like big 1 week for advocacy, but then the students within can be able to talk to other students, those who are passionate. But not all universities are capable to do that. We also have so many young people in rural areas. What happens to them if the Ministry of Health is just assuming that, oh, these things happen in schools? There are so many young people who are not in university and colleges, and they also need to be, get training and advice about sustainability. And as I conclude on this, I will say, we have matters of harm reduction. Harm reduction will easily work for us as the youngest population in the country. And that still needs very big will from the ministry. Okay. Because it's so funny, other ministries which are not important, they have goodwill to work with the youth and ensure things work around. But ministries which are the backbone of our life, which is health, they tend to always do things shutting down the young people. And it is a problem that I think it has happened from the onset of the independence of our country. But now we talk and say, time is up. Time is up for the ministry to work with the young people.
Have you reached out?
And
are there openings to reach?
So we were doing harm reduction last year, mid of last year, but it was basically harm reduction of drugs, because if you know, there was this drug that young people were taking in the coastal region, and then they will, someone will just be stuck for, in an unmovable state for an hour or two. So we were trying to tell the ministry, can you put more effort and energy to find out, first of all, which kind of, drug is this? And then Second of all, to educate the young people, the effect, and if they're addicted. Like for example, for tobacco, people can use vape instead of cigar. But then these are new things that we don't know. The ministry said nothing, and of course, I don't want to say much, but you remember that lady went to face the CS. What happened to her?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
so
what
that's
happened to her? I mean, and of course, we're not in the business of pointing fingers, but equally, some of these concerns must be raised and must be addressed. Angela, we come back to you. Perhaps, you look like you have the face of the government at this point to respond to some of the concerns that
so many questions,
Critical concerns are raised here, including that very last one. And there's that element of integration that people are talking about, or the lady and gentleman are talking about. Just how well engraved in policy is it, such that then it would come in to address this concern of stigma, address this gap that exists in the communication chain?
Okay, so maybe I'll address her question about engagement with young people. So at the council, we have what we call the Maisha Youth. I've had some of them saying they are part of it. And we have 47 chapters across the country. It would be good that perhaps she gets engaged with the Maisha Youth chapters. And then we also have the county coordinating mechanisms where we have the CHMT, that's the County Health Management Team, and there are young people, Maisha Youth, who are part of that group. Regarding integration, I know that across the country, counties are doing integration their own way. And I've heard him say about Nakuru. So what the plan is through NASCOP is to check what models are counties experimenting with, because integration means very many things. Maybe between Dr. Samuel and myself and Shamsa, we see integration in different perspectives. Some people see it in terms of locating of services together. Other people, it's about systems, maybe your data information systems, you need to integrate them together. So for different people, it means different things. And we also are aware that counties were integrating based on services. Therefore, it increased workloads. So the plan is to see which model works best for where. Yeah. Once we determine which model works best for where, is it cost effective, then we will do a guidance, a policy guidance. So there is a plan to develop a blueprint for the whole country.
Is this being communicated to the affected,
So there was a summit last year that was delivered through NASCOP to just have a conversation about integration well before this happened. Okay, and there are continuous webinars in terms of what counties are trying to do. So I think there's just maybe what we need to do is talk about it a little bit more. Because I know it's creating a bit of anxiety, especially for the recipient who's receiving that service. Regarding funding, as Dr. Samuel was saying, last week we met with governors, members of parliament for the health committee and the budget. Cabinet is apprised of this matter. They are aware of what is happening. Through the policy budget statement and the current supplementary 2, we have requested as Ministry of Health, as a council, to get more allocation to buy medicines, to also have an emergency kit where we are able to, at the short term, pay these healthcare workers. As Dr. Samuel is saying, majority of the money from the US government was to pay healthcare workers. And that is the reality of what we call a vertical program. When HIV started in the 80s, there was a design. What we are hearing today is what that design was. People to support somebody. So now we have to ask ourselves, going forward, what would be the minimum requirement to support that person? Because we cannot continue with that model, because if the USG has pulled out, the other day I had an adherence counselor come and see me, telling me he doesn't have work. And it's because of what has happened. So what is the model that we adopt as a country? People are doing different things across the world. South Africa, for example, they are buying their first-line treatment as a country. So what will we do as Kenya? So for me, I think the next couple of months are very determinant for the country, because then we'll be able to set in place what service delivery models we want.
Okay.
Can we afford them? We have to live within our means. Yeah.
We have testing kits?
Yes, we do. In fact, so let me read for you. Condom kit. World Safari Rally. We are there with Nakuru County.
That is Nakuru County.
That's what the same model we used last year.
Yes.
To engage with the World Safari Rally is the same model we'll use for this year. I'm aware that initially, even before the disruption of services, there was an initial delivery of 9 million pieces of condoms, and then another 1.6 that was done the other day. There's an expedited delivery of 121 million pieces. But you know what fascinates me about this country? I was driving, when we were coming here, there are big billboards of alcohol, whiskeys, very expensive. So these condoms that we have are for high risk, and the doctors here will tell you, the ones that we provide for free. What we are trying to do as a council is to do a total market approach where people are able to buy. We've even done a study in this country. People are willing to buy a condom. If you can buy a bottle of whiskey, which is 15,000, why can't you buy a condom?
Interesting. I'll be coming back to you, ladies and gentlemen. Why can't you? Why can't you? But research is critical if we're going to chart the way forward, if we are going to change tact for the better. When we're looking at this, loss of funding from the US government, and we just want to look at the future of basically everything, where do we place the future of HIV research, that is including vaccine development, as well as innovative treatment methods? And I know, like Dr. Samuel says, that as a country we are capable, yet we are not doing it. I mean, what do we do here in Kenya and across the continent?
I mean, research has been interrupted. That's just a basic fact.
Okay.
You see, there are different levels of research. We have research that is ongoing, especially with, like, we're looking at people who've been diagnosed in childhood. They've been taking this medication 30, 40 years. So remember, you're looking at how have these medications been affecting them for this 30, 40 years. These are people who are now living longer. So they are getting all these diseases. If you have HIV, you have 1.5 times more chance of getting diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol issues. So you see, there are those studies that go on in these populations continuously.
Yeah.
We have studies that go on in vulnerable groups, yeah? So these are the groups we're talking about, whether it's a commercial sex worker, whether it's men having sex with women, those kind of vulnerable groups. You have studies going on with youth, studies going on with basically anyone in this who's been affected by this. And then we have the studies going on new medications. Remember what we were looking at, the rainbow that we were all looking at was moving from tablets to injectables. What we wanted was to free our populations from having to swallow a tablet. You know, wherever you go, you need a pill in your pocket, you have to move like that. We wanted them to come in, get a jab, see you in 2 to 3 months. All of those things have been halted. And you have to understand, even at the level of people who are doing some of these studies in the US, it has also been halted at that level. Forget just about us. There's so many people who've had their funding pulled on ideas that they had already been given permission. That means we're going to lose even the concept of things. And the truth is, whether we like it or not, unfortunately in Africa, we may have the bright minds, but you need the money and you need the technology and you need a lot of things behind it. And we have also been held back, meaning I can have a beautiful idea, the 4 of us can sit and come up with a beautiful study, but we don't have the $2,000 to try and publish it in, NEGM. Even if I want to get a visa to go and present something, you'll find I'm not getting that visa and I'll probably have to get my counterpart to sign off on it. Yeah. So research has really been disrupted, and we are going to feel this ripple effect much later. We're losing that, and then you lose the incentive and the innovation to even try and do these things.
Wow.
So it is massive. It is really
massive. There's going to be long-term effects to all this eventually. Doctor, I'll be coming back to you perhaps to get to know what local NGOs and advocacy groups then are doing to make sure that, number one, they mobilize resources, if any, if they were not dependent on the funding, that is to raise awareness about the potential impact of this particular funding act, because it's important that we engage government to speak to the people, but equally, we just know how instrumental the NGOs and advocacy groups have been in terms of making sure that there's creation of this awareness. But King, you have any demonstration? It's important that we have some demonstrations here, like what people need to do. Is it from you that we have a demo? Yes. Very quick, in the best interest of time, because then we're also talking about abstinence or safe sex, right?
Yes. And allow me to say something.
Yes.
Our former president, said...
let's have the mic up.
Yeah. US money is their money.
Okay.
Is their taxes money. And we did, I don't know whether I can have a table to demonstrate that.
You could use mine. You can come use mine. Meanwhile, what do you have to say about what you hear from the Ministry of Health, but at the same time from what it is that Angela says in terms of just trying to bring us to a level where we have confidence that everything is in control?
Okay, thank you so much again. Okay, I've heard from the ministry, from the CS Health. Amesema ati dawa ziko na wamefanya the orders. Right. But tunajua sasa tambo ifike kwa facility itakuwa imechelewa. Kwa sababu yule mama ananyonyesha, anakuambia sasa nitanyonyeshaje mtoto bila prophylaxis. Right. Unaona? So it's either utamwambia aende kwa facility ingine kama anaweza pata ama a stop breastfeeding.
Are you people allowed to refer such that maybe you write a note to say, please consider this case that is special and all that? You're allowed.
We are allowed to refer.
So what would be your message to the government this evening? Harakishe, fast track, or what exactly?
Okay, uwezi waambia warakishe kwa sababu amesema already ziko ordered na ziko zinakuwa supplied. So it's just upon us to continue to empower the community. We continue to empower our recipients of care. They be careful. Juu hata hizo viral load bada hakuna tubes. So we just educate them on how to keep themselves. Wameze dawa poa.
All right, beautiful. King, how quick can we do this? Because we only have about 5 minutes that we all have to share amongst ourselves.
One thing that we have to agree.
Because she came, Mike.
Yes.
Okay.
Even if Kenya, we can say that people can buy mzinga for 15,000. And people don't make decisions when to make life.
Okay.
A lot of people, maybe they go to party without those plans. So they buy mzinga and not buy corn. Because they are not prepared, but when they get drunk, they want to engage themselves into sex. So, and one of the things that we say, you come for dinner, wacha tukule kuku, unakula kuku, then you also become a dinner to somebody. Now, in this chain, and in this chain, what you are having now is something that is very unique. That a lot of people, these are married couple, and they are safe. They don't go even for a HIV test. They trust one another. But this guy, where he goes for kinyozi, you know, there's a very beautiful girl, and they click. And this girl is very comfortable with this man. And the secret is this girl knows the wife, and the wife doesn't know. And this guy know the two of them. And then when we talk about condom, we have what we call the monomakonde way of using condom. They use the first week. The second week, they're not using condom. They trust one another. They go for a HIV test. Then they stop using condom. But this girl has another, the landlord, or the boss, or somebody, or the PA of the governor. You know, we have these people who have money. You know, money talks. And this lady has the pastor in the church, or a choir master. That the chain goes
on and on.
On and on. And this lady, this guy also have a very young girl, a college girl.
Okay.
This is a lecturer. This girl is in internship. This girl have the official
boyfriend.
Where is the boyfriend? Ndio, this is a boyfriend.
Na huyu pia akona bibi.
You see, there's also the curtain. They have another people behind. Now, this one also went for gym.
Okay.
This is a gym instructor. A gym instructor with with the Buddha Buddha guy. And seriously, we need to do maombi for Buddha Buddha guys. And this man had sex with the house girl
Put a
in the
disclaimer
morning.
Buddha Buddha was tukujie.
No.
They are my friends.
They are my friends. This girl, these are house girl.
Okay, as we sum it up.
The house girl also had sex with
security guard.
The police or the chief, the area chief. The area chief also with the headmistress of the nearby school. All this chain. This is a chain that we are trying to stop.
So what is the message here? Abstain or do what exactly?
No. We cannot tell adults to abstain.
Okay.
We cannot rock sex.
So what
it
do
was
we do?
God. We are given by God.
What
we need is responsible sex. And we put condom. And we tell our government, number one, reduce taxes on condom. We need condom.
Okay.
By the way, all these, we can compare one ARV. I don't know whether we have ARV. The cost of ARV is how much, Daktari?
We said the cost of
Annual.
1 year.
1 year is 15,000.
Is 15,000.
15,000. There is nobody who can use 15,000 condoms worth of condom within a year.
Yeah.
Unless you put all over, I don't know, you put them like a balloon. We cannot. We need.
We have not even talked about PEP and PrEP as well.
You imagine, we have not talked about PEP and PrEP.
Okay.
And if they are missing, you see, one of the biggest things.
As we close,
Yes, as we close, the burden, the hospital, the capacity of bed in our hospital, with all these ARVs, our hospitals does not have the capacity to have people bedridden because of illness. Okay. So we are going to see our brothers in hospital lying on the floor.
All right.
And the burden of the doctors.
Safe sex is important.
Safe sex is important, and we need support to go to Vasha. Daktari, please support me to go to Vasha.
That is a declaration that has been made. Live. More support. Only one person here to wind it up for us, and then we'll come to this side for parting shots. We'll make it very brief, around 30 seconds. Okay. Who goes first? Oh, who goes? All right.
Okay. Mimi naweza sema, for now, there is a lot that is going on. We need a lot of clarification. As Daktari has said on integration, kila mtu anaichukulia kivyake. So for now, we don't have a clear message on what is integration. So when you try to do such things, I would also request you make use of community leaders, of people who are living HIV positive, get those ideas they have, listen to them on the ground so that you can use the best approach. Thank you.
All right, fair enough. 30 seconds on this side as we close.
So thank you very much.
The call to action.
The call to action from AIDS Healthcare Foundation. AIDS Healthcare Foundation has been affected in one way or another, although we are self-funded, but we work alongside partners, strong partners who are funded by PEPFAR. And I agree with the young man there that we need to focus domestic resource mobilization. This is the sure way for sustainability. And in this vein, I strongly advocate for inclusion of HIV related services into the social health insurance fund. I have not had any justification from anyone, including the PS whom I have talked to and the CS who I have talked to, who have been able to defend the reason why HIV clients were excluded in the social health insurance. We cannot talk about universal coverage when we leave out 1.4 Kenyans out of a national insurance fund. Yet these people are also tax payers. They are also contributing to the economy of this country. The other thing on integration.
We have to close.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Let's allow the others,
My parting shot to the Ministry of Health is that you need to do better. Given that the Global Fund has trusted the President to be the lead of the financing for malaria and HIV and diabetes this year and in 2022, it means that Kenya is trusted and that the President is committed to achieve UHC. But the people at the steering wheel are lagging us behind. So the ministry should do better and ensure that they activate and implement matters of health and also include the youth in advocacy and policy matters. Thank you very much.
Fair enough, Angela.
all of us here should be champions of the message that I have said today. There is no need for us to create panic in the whole country. As you've heard the minister say, we have enough stock to last us for the next 2 years. And there's no need, because once people start to keep medicine, it creates an artificial stock out. It creates a problem. But I'm open to having conversations, especially with the young people, even as we develop this new plan for the next 5 years. How do we deliver on the services with the new models that we come up with? So I ask them to join us so that we're able to create a framework that works for everybody, especially for the recipient of care.
All right, and I want to trust that this is the beginning of this relationship. Dr. Shamsa.
So I hope the powers that be are listening so that every year we stop the way we're cutting our budget in terms of healthcare. Instead, we should be going up and looking for alternative funding, and not by raising our taxes, but alternative funding so that we can own this program. And I think for everybody listening, when you keep hearing these numbers, you need to realize they're not just numbers, these are actual people. So I'd really like to commend the panel that is here because they are representative of the people who actually do the work and keep our communities safe. It's a privilege to care for anybody who is in a vulnerable state. So I'm hoping that as a nation, what's going to happen is we're going to own this program, and even private hospitals are going to step up and do what they're supposed to do as part of their mandate.
All right. Thank you so much. Last speaker, Dr. Shamsa Ahmed, Head of Infectious Diseases, that is MP Shah Hospital, as well as Angela Langat, MBS, the Director, National Syndemic Disease Control Council. Thank you so much. Kaikai Naipamei, CEO Youth Champions for SDG, and Dr. Samuel Kenyanjui, Country Director, AHF Kenya, that is the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. Asante sana. Smiles nakumbuka. King nakumbuka. Yours was Frank. It is still, And then Maxwell. And last but not least, Santeni Sana. My name is Linda Alela. It was great having you. I appreciate you, as well as appreciate the immense feedback that we've gotten this evening. Time could not allow us to go through them, but we say Asante Sana. Of course, I was doing this whole broadcast alongside sign language interpreter Rhoda Nyamai. We close it at this very point. We look forward to see you again on Tuesday. Do have yourself a lovely night.